Welcome to Low Man Help. Today we're looking at two of my favorite cutters in the league, the Thompson Twins, Ausar and Amen Thompson. These guys are two of the best in the league at understanding where is my space and having the self-awareness to know that they're not shooters, so the space that they should be cutting into is to the rim, not spacing away from the rim. We're going to get into low man help reads, early cuts. We're going to get into help the helper reads, and just generally understanding how to move when your defender has turned his attention away from you and directly to the ball. I'm excited about this edit. Let's get into it. All right, we're looking at two of my favorite cutters in the NBA, the Thompson Twins, Ausar and Amen, and they do such a great job of understanding when the shell is cracked and when is the time to start moving and where space is. Now, neither one of them are great shooters, but they don't let that deter them from getting into good spaces and getting good results. So right here we got Ausar in the corner, and this is the action we're waiting for. Where is my space and when is the shell cracked? And the shell cracks when the ball gets inside the shell and we get defenders who are giving primary attention to the ball. So Cade Cunningham does a great job here of getting inside the shell. And as soon as this happens, we see Ausar up here read, okay, this is my time. This is my time to move. My defender has given his attention to the ball and my space is here. Now, Ausar could stay there, right? He could stay in the corner, but he's going to have A, help the helper help, and then B, he's not a great shooter. So he understands his space is going to be at the rim, and he does a great job of moving even before Cade gets his eyes up. He's in position as soon as he needs to be, even earlier, and he's giving great verbal communication with his hand up, saying, give me the lob, give me the lob. Next, we got Amen, and Amen, same exact cut, same type of play, same type of player in terms of shooting as Ausar. And this is a really nice inverted pick and roll. The Rockets do a lot of fun stuff here, but this is shell, right? Defensive shell right here. We've got it. And once the ball gets into this shell, right? Anytime the ball gets into here and it's primary help from somebody, you need to understand where your space is and be moving into it. So Amen does a great job here as Shogun gets around, right? The ball is getting into the shell. We've got a hip turn right here from primary defender, ball getting downhill into the paint, into the shell, and we've got our guy, Amen, over here seeing his defender hip turn, early help to the ball. And so as soon as that happens, very similar situation to what we saw earlier. There's going to be a help the helper here that's going to be responsible for two, and we're capable of staying here, maybe getting a shot, maybe not. But we're also capable of making this cut, going into space, going into finishing space, not just cutting for shots, but cutting for finishes. And Amen does an awesome job of getting there early. Not the same as a lob, right? Different play, different player, but making a great cut into the space that's available to him. Next one, we've got Ausar. This is one of my favorite cuts. This is from last year. And this isn't a common cut, right? The two that we saw before, those are two-man, two-eye pick and roll helps. We've got low man help and then help the helper dropping. This is very random, right? This is not a common cut. And we've got ball going baseline. And one of the things that you want to think about when the ball gets baseline here, it can only come out this way, right? It can only come out with power, with force going that way. It can't come back, right? The ball is not capable of coming back this way. So if our guy Ausar was to stay in this space, he'd be completely out of the play. But he reads where the ball is going and then where his space is right here. And he does a wonderful job of reading. Reggie Jackson's eyes are on the ball, right? 100% of his attention is on the ball. He's not seeing both. He doesn't see where Ausar is, and Ausar takes advantage of that, reads where the ball is getting to and where his space is that he can cut into, and does a wonderful job of cutting into that space and finishing. Next, we've got Amen in Houston, and another great job of feeling the play and then taking advantage of what's available to him. So coming out here, he's just waiting, right? Right now, half attention here, half attention here. And so Amen does a great job of waiting. When does 100% of attention go to Shogun? And whenever 100% attention goes, where is my space? And there's two options, right? He could stay here for a shot, maybe get help from Shannon right here, or he can cut into this action, this lane. And so knowing who you are as a player also has a lot to determine into how you read space. If you're a great shooter, you might say spaced on the perimeter. But if you're not a great shooter and you're a great finisher, you want to be able to slice into that open space just like Amen does here. Gets into the open space and then he's reading, right? He's reading his own help defender. If this was a big, I think we'd probably see a pass this way. But because this isn't a big stepping up and he's capable of finishing over Simons, he avoids the charge, gets into great space, and finishes the action. All right, we got Ausar, Detroit. Wonderful cut off a short roll. And these type of cuts are the things that Ausar is going to have to do with Duran, with Stewart, as Cade keeps picking it up in the pick and roll. And all we're doing, same thing as Cade. This is very similar to the first action when Cade got into the shell, right? We have this shell here. When Cade got into the shell, the ball's still outside here, right? As soon as the ball gets in here, now we're going to have trouble. But instead of the ball getting in via penetration here, it's by pass. So same exact read, shell here, ball's inside, right? And as soon as the ball gets inside the shell, now we're reading what does this defender do? What does my primary defender do? And as soon as he gives 100% of his attention to the ball, you have to be reading, where is my space? Is my space for shots or is my space to cut? And Ausar does a great job of knowing who he is, makes his cut early, and he's in position before this help the helper comes. So you can see a Kongwu up here up top, and he's going to be help the helper coming down here because we're so lifted. So Ausar, if he waits to make this cut, help the helper would get there in time. But because he's making this cut early, he's ahead of help the helper just like he was in the first clip, and he finishes. All right. Amen. This is such a wonderful cut. Cutting strong side is very underrated. A lot of times you see weak side cuts. Also, what a court here. Wow. A lot of times you see weak side cuts, but now we're seeing strong side here. And so we've got Amen in the corner, and same principles apply, right? He's primary defender here. As soon as the ball gets inside the shell and his primary defender gives 100% of his attention to the ball, Amen has to be reading, where is my space? And space could be here if you're a great shooter, right? You have to play to your strengths. Or space is here, which Amen takes because he plays to his strengths. He's not a great shooter, so he reads early. Naz Reid gives all of his attention to the ball here, and he's on the move. Immediately on the move, sees the back of his defender's head, and keeps moving into open space. And this is a great cut, great pass, easy, simple finish. All right, next one here, we got Ausar making a classic help the helper cut. And we've seen these guys cut from the corner when their man is low man help and have early timing. This cut is way more about patience and feeling and understanding where the defense is and who's in the next rotation. So same concept that we've seen a ton of so far, ball getting baseline, and you have to know when the ball gets baseline, this is first help. And we have to see low man help going, and then we're going to have help the helper. And so these guys that we've seen, they've been in this spot, this corner spot, and so they're making an early cut. But if you make an early cut here, this help the helper guy is going to see you. And so they have to wait, and you see Ausar up here. Low man help is happening, and he's waiting. He doesn't move early. And then as soon as his man starts, right? As soon as Jordan Hawkins starts this help the helper help, he's on this cut, and he is reading, where is my space? And yes, he could stay out here, but he knows his strengths and he plays to his strengths. So he cuts into this one when we see help the helper. And so this is such a great read, great timing, great read into the space where he can be effective, and he knows his game. He has self-awareness, and that's a massive key in knowing when you need to make cuts and where you need to make cuts. All right, next we got Amen here, and this is fun. This is some fun stuff he's doing. This is as a screener, and the same concepts apply even when you're a screener. There's a nice little inverted pick and roll. He's reading two things. One, what is this defender doing, right? Is he under me? Is he over me? And then two, what is my defender doing, right? What am I hearing? What am I hearing? And if he gets a hold of this defender, then he knows his defender is going to have to pick up the ball, right? So as soon as he sees that he's got the John Collins here or Zach Collins, he's got him on top side, and he knows exactly where space is, because if he gets a hold of this one, right, the best way to get yourself open is to set a great screen. If he gets a hold of Zach Collins here, he knows Chris Paul has to pick up the ball. And if Chris Paul picks up the ball, he knows this is where space is, because there's 1, 2 up here, and he knows low man help is coming from the side he came from. So this is such a great job of setting a quality screen, getting a hold of your guy, setting a quality screen, which is going to get you open. And it's going to get you open because you've gotten somebody else open. Great job knowing where space is, knowing where his strengths are. Last one, same thing, setting a screen, setting a quality screen, understanding what you're doing when you're in the short roll. And this is such a fun look, fun finish. And the Rockets have been doing some really cool stuff with using Amen as a screener, but it starts with this, getting a quality screen. If you don't get a quality screen, you're not going to be open. So getting a quality screen, knowing that he's gotten Jalen Green open, and then seeing, okay, Josh Hart is still going, this is where my space is. And now I'm making really simple yes or no reads. If low man help is there early and meets me and stops me, then ball goes to corner. If low man help is not there early and doesn't stop me, then I finish. And basketball is really simple. It's if-then reads. But getting to the place where you can make those if-then reads requires you reading the game a step ahead of everybody else, being one step ahead. That way you're playing from a position of strength, not a position of weakness.